Have you ever felt a sudden emptiness in your life, a void where someone used to be, and wondered why God would allow such a painful separation to happen? Maybe it's a friend who no longer calls, a partner who walked away, or a family member whose presence has faded from your daily life, and right now, your heart might be heavy with confusion, sorrow, or even anger, but I want you to understand something that is deeper than your current feelings. God is removing someone from your life for a reason, and though it may be painful, it is part of a divine plan that is far greater than anything you can imagine. Right now, I want you to take a deep breath and listen carefully, because this message is not just comforting words, it is a revelation that can change the way you view your life, your relationships, and even your faith, for sometimes the people God removes from our lives are the very ones keeping us from the fullness of our purpose, the ones whose presence, even if once cherished, is now a distraction, a source of negativity, or a chain holding us back from the blessings waiting for us. And though your mind may scream, "Why?" and your heart may plead for reunion, the truth is that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding, and His timing is perfect even when it feels unbearably slow. You see, removal is not punishment, it is preparation, and it is protection, for God knows the storms that lie ahead, the trials that will test your faith, and the opportunities that require your undivided attention, and by removing certain people, He is creating space in your life for the right people, the right relationships, and the right experiences that align with your destiny. And even if you cannot see it now, the absence of someone is often the presence of God working behind the scenes, shaping your character, sharpening your vision, and redirecting your steps toward the blessings that were never possible while that person occupied your life. There are times when God allows us to feel the sting of loss so that we can recognize our own strength, discover our independence, and learn to rely not on human approval, love, or companionship alone, but on His unfailing, eternal love that never fails, never abandons, and never makes mistakes. And while your heart may ache and tears may fall, understand that every removal is a divine assignment, a spiritual reset that is carefully orchestrated to position you for growth, breakthrough, and even miraculous encounters that you could not have imagined while entangled in relationships that no longer serve your purpose. Consider this: when a branch is pruned from a tree, it may seem harsh, abrupt, even cruel, but the pruning allows the tree to bear more fruit, stronger and healthier than ever before. And in the same way, God's removal of someone from your life is not rejection. It is refinement, it is preparation for a season where you will flourish beyond your current limitations, where your faith will be tested and proven, and where you will discover that what you thought was loss was actually a divine exchange, replacing the wrong connections with the right ones, the distractions with opportunities, and the pain with purpose. Think about the relationships you've held on to, the friendships or romantic ties that drained you, limited you, or pulled you away from God's plan. Sometimes our attachment to people blinds us to the very reality that God is trying to reveal, that the person we are clinging to is not meant to journey with us into the next chapter of our lives. And though your natural mind resists the separation, your spirit knows the truth that God's ways are higher than ours, and His plans are to prosper you, not to harm you, and to give you a hope and a future, even when it feels like the world has turned cold and distant. And here something even more powerful: when God removes someone from your life, He is not only protecting you from harm, He is also creating room for you to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, because some people, intentionally or unintentionally, become obstacles to your personal growth, to your dreams, and even to your spiritual journey, and while it may feel unfair or undeserved, it is actually an act of divine mercy, for staying in the wrong relationship could have cost you far more than the temporary pain of separation. You must trust that God's timing is flawless, and every person who leaves your life is part of a bigger story that you cannot yet see, for there are blessings, connections, and opportunities coming your way that require you to be free, unencumbered, and ready to receive, and every tear, every moment of loneliness, every pang of sadness is preparing your heart to recognize and embrace what is truly meant for you, what God has reserved for your life, and the beauty is that once you surrender your grief, once you release your fear, anger, and resentment, you will begin to understand that the removal was not the end, but the beginning of something greater than you ever imagined, and that God is working invisibly, aligning the people, circumstances, and doors in your life according to His perfect will. And so, I want you to hear this today. If someone is leaving your life, do not despair, do not curse the situation, and do not cling desperately to what is slipping away, for God is in control, and He has a reason that is far beyond your comprehension, and that reason is always for your good, your protection, and your future, for He sees the roads ahead, the storms that you cannot yet foresee, and the victories that are waiting on the other side of this removal, and sometimes the people we think we cannot live without are the very ones whose absence will teach us lessons of resilience, faith, and reliance on God alone, and once we embrace that truth, our hearts find peace, our minds find clarity, and our spirits find freedom, for nothing is wasted in God's kingdom, and every ending is the precursor to a divine beginning. You may feel anger, sadness, or betrayal, but remember that God's removal is always guided by love, wisdom, and the desire to bring you into alignment with His plan, and sometimes His removals are silent, almost imperceptible, a gentle whisper of change that nudges you toward your destiny, and other times they are sudden, painful, and jarring, but the outcome is always the same. Your life being redirected toward what is best for you, and though it may take time, patience, and faith to recognize. The emptiness you feel today is a canvas, a sacred space, a fertile ground where God will plant new relationships, opportunities, and experiences that will elevate you in ways you never dreamed possible, and when you finally reflect on this season, you will see with clarity that God's hand was always there, guiding, protecting, and shaping you for the destiny you are about to walk into. So today, I want you to let go, to surrender, to trust, and to believe that every removal is a divine beginning. You may feel anger, sadness, or betrayal, but remember that God's removal is always guided by love, wisdom, and the desire to bring you into alignment with His plan, and sometimes His removals are silent, almost imperceptible, a gentle whisper of change that nudges you toward your destiny, and other times they are sudden, painful, and jarring, but the outcome is always the same. Your life being redirected toward what is best for you, and though it may take time, patience, and faith to recognize. The emptiness you feel today is a canvas, a sacred space, a fertile ground where God will plant new relationships, opportunities, and experiences that will elevate you in ways you never dreamed possible, and when you finally reflect on this season, you will see with clarity that God's hand was always there, guiding, protecting, and shaping you for the destiny you are about to walk into. So today, I want you to let go, to surrender, to trust, and to believe that every removal is a divine act of love, every ending a preparation for a new beginning, and every absence a reminder that God is always working behind the scenes, even when you cannot see Him, and that your faith, patience, and obedience during these seasons of removal are not in vain, for He is orchestrating something beautiful, something life-changing, and something eternal, and one day, when you look back, you will understand that the person who left was never meant to stay, that their removal was a blessing in disguise, and that God's reasons, though hidden now, were perfectly timed to bring you into the fullness of your destiny, and that is why you must trust, wait, and believe, because God is never late, never wrong, and always faithful, and He is removing someone from your life for a reason that will eventually bring you joy, peace, and a life beyond what you could ever imagine. Listen carefully, because what you are experiencing right now is not rejection, it is protection, and what feels like loss is actually God stepping between you and something that could have quietly destroyed your peace, your confidence, your calling, and even your future, because sometimes the most loving thing God can do is remove someone you thought you needed in order to reveal the strength you didn't know you had, and the moment you understand this, everything begins to make sense. The silence makes sense, the distance makes sense, the unanswered messages make sense, the sudden change in behavior makes sense, because God never removes without replacing, and He never closes a chapter without preparing a better one that matches the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. And maybe you kept asking, why did this happen to me? Why did they walk away? Why did they stop caring? Why did the connection break so suddenly? But what if heaven saw something you could not see? What if God heard conversations you never heard, noticed intentions you never noticed, and protected you from an ending that would have hurt far more than this temporary separation ever could? Because sometimes people leave not because you failed, but because their assignment in your life has finished, and God refuses to allow someone to stay in a place where they are no longer meant to help you grow. And the truth is, the version of you that is rising right now cannot carry the same relationships that belong to the version of you that was still learning how to trust God fully. And that is why this moment feels uncomfortable, because growth always feels unfamiliar before it becomes powerful. And maybe deep inside your heart you sensed something changing long before it actually happened. Maybe there were small signs, small shifts, small moments where you felt God whispering, prepare yourself, something is about to change, but you ignored it because you were holding on to what felt safe, what felt familiar, what felt important. And yet God knew that where He is taking you next requires clarity, courage, and freedom from emotional attachments that were quietly limiting your destiny. And this is the part most people do not understand. Sometimes God removes someone not because they were bad, but because they were not meant to walk with you into your next season. And if they stayed, they would have slowed the miracle God is preparing for you right now. And even though it hurts, even though you miss them, even though part of you wishes things could go back to the way they were, you must remember that God does not take something away unless He is preparing to place something stronger, healthier, and more aligned with your purpose in its place. Because your life is not random, your connections are not random, your timing is not random. Everything is being shaped by a loving God who sees the entire picture while you can only see the present moment. And right now He is teaching you something deeper than comfort. He is Teaching you trust. He is teaching you how to depend on Him instead of depending on people who cannot carry the responsibility of your future. And this lesson is not punishment, this lesson is preparation, because the doors that are about to open in your life require a stronger heart, a clearer mind, and a faith that does not collapse when people walk away. And maybe you are still asking God, why did it have to hurt this much? Why did it have to end this way? Why did it feel so sudden? But what if this pain is proof that something significant was shifting in your spiritual path? What if this discomfort is the signal that you are stepping into a new level of purpose that cannot be reached while holding on to relationships that belong to your past season? And the moment you begin to see it this way, something inside you will change, because instead of feeling abandoned, you will start feeling guided. Instead of feeling rejected, you will start feeling protected. Instead of feeling confused, you will begin to recognize that God has been working quietly behind the scenes, arranging people, rearranging opportunities, closing doors, redirecting conversations, and clearing space in your life for something that matches the future He promised you long before you ever understood where your story was going. And there is a reason you are hearing this message right now, because God wants you to stop blaming yourself for what ended and start trusting Him for what is beginning. Because what left your life was never stronger than what is coming, and what walked away could never replace what God is about to send. And even now, while you are still healing, while you are still thinking about what happened, while you are still trying to understand why everything changed so quickly, heaven is already preparing the next connection, the next opportunity, the next breakthrough, the next confirmation that will remind you that nothing you lost was ever wasted, and nothing God removes is ever without purpose. And soon you will look back at this exact moment, the confusion, the silence, the distance, the ending, and you will realize that it was not the end of something important, it was the beginning of something greater than you ever imagined. And when that realization arrives, your faith will feel stronger, your heart will feel lighter, and your trust in God will become unshakable, because you will finally see that what felt like loss was actually divine direction leading you exactly where you were always meant to be. Stop for a moment and truly hear this, because God is speaking directly to your heart right now, and He wants you to understand that the emptiness you feel is not a punishment but a preparation. The distance you feel is not rejection but a realignment. And the loss you are grieving is not the end of your story but the clearing of space for your breakthrough, because sometimes people are removed from our lives not because we did something wrong but because their presence was keeping us from fully stepping into the purpose God designed for us. And the timing of these removals is never accidental, it is always deliberate, orchestrated by a loving God who sees the finish line while you can only see the first few steps. And maybe you have been holding on to memories, hoping things would return to how they were, replaying conversations in your mind, thinking if only you had said this or done that, things would be different. But the truth is, God already knew the outcome, and He knew that by letting them stay, you would miss the lesson, the growth, and the strength that comes from learning to stand alone and trust Him fully. And maybe right now your heart feels heavy because you miss them, maybe your mind keeps asking why, maybe tears fall in secret moments when you think no one is watching. But all of this is part of the refining process, because God is not just removing people, He is shaping you into someone who is ready for the people, the opportunities, and the blessings that cannot enter your life until the old attachments are released. And the moment you accept this truth, your perspective will shift from sorrow to understanding, from fear to faith, from confusion to clarity, because you will see that the gaps left in your life were never meant to be empty, they were meant to be filled with the right connections, the right doors, the right experiences, the people who align with your calling, the ones who lift you higher, who inspire you, who challenge you to grow in ways you never imagined. And even though it hurts, even though letting go feels impossible, even though you wish for a rewind or a second chance, God's plan is still moving forward, and He is reminding you that your life is not determined by those who leave but by the one who never abandons you, who never misses a step in guiding your path, and who is using this very moment, this very heartache, this very disappointment to prepare you for a season that will make every pain, every tear, and every unanswered question worth it, because the removal of someone is not the absence of love, it is the redirection of destiny, and as soon as you understand that, you will stop chasing what was and start embracing what is coming. You will stop questioning why they left and start asking God how He will show up in ways you never expected. You will stop mourning over what ended and start anticipating what begins. Because the hand that took away is the same hand that is placing something greater in your life. The hand that closed doors is the same hand that is opening new ones, and the hand that allowed disappointment is the same hand that will bring restoration, joy, and divine alignment that surpasses anything you could have imagined. And maybe today, as you hear this message, you will feel a weight lift off your shoulders, a sense of peace settle in your heart, and a quiet confidence rise inside you, because God is reminding you that what has been removed from your life was never yours to carry anyway. And what is coming, what is about to enter your life, is perfectly designed for the next chapter of your story, a chapter filled with purpose, fulfillment, and the kind of divine blessings that make every moment of hurt and waiting completely worth it. Listen closely, because God is speaking directly to your spirit in this very moment, and He wants you to understand that the pain you feel from someone leaving your life is not the end of your journey but the beginning of a new, divinely orchestrated season that is far greater than anything you could have planned for yourself. And maybe you have been questioning why it had to end, why the timing feels so unfair, why someone who once meant so much has been removed so suddenly. But what if God's perspective is far bigger than yours? What if He sees the opportunities, the growth, and the blessings that are waiting for you on the other side of this removal? What if He is intentionally clearing space in your life so that nothing and no one can block the miracle He is preparing for you? And sometimes the hardest part is letting go of someone who once felt irreplaceable, someone you thought would always be part of your story, someone you believed was your forever. But God is reminding you that His plan is not based on comfort or familiarity. His plan is based on purpose, and when He removes someone from your life, it is because they are no longer aligned with the season He is leading you into, and holding on to what is no longer meant for you only delays the arrival of what is meant for you. And even though your heart aches, even though the memories linger, even though the questions feel endless, you must trust that God's timing is perfect, that His wisdom is unfailing, and that every removal is actually a redirection towards something that will elevate your life, your faith, and your destiny to a level you never imagined. And maybe the reason you are feeling lost right now is because you are being prepared for a new level of understanding, a deeper intimacy with God, and a clearer vision of your future, because God never removes without purpose. And what feels like an ending is often the setup for a breakthrough that will leave you speechless, and the moment you accept this truth, the pain begins to transform into peace, confusion begins to transform into clarity, and loss begins to transform into anticipation for the blessings that are coming, because God is already working behind the scenes, arranging connections, opening doors, sending people, and preparing circumstances that are perfectly tailored for you, perfectly timed, and perfectly aligned with the path He has designed. And when you finally let go of the person, the season, or the chapter that was meant to leave, you will begin to see the full picture. You will realize that nothing was taken away without reason, nothing was removed without care, and everything you experience is part of a divine plan that is far greater than you could ever imagine. And even in your moments of doubt, even in your moments of heartbreak, God is reminding you to trust Him, to lean on Him, to keep walking forward with faith. Because the hand that closes one door is the same hand that opens a door that no one else can shut, and the God who allowed the removal is the same God who is about to bring the replacement, the breakthrough, the alignment, and the miracles that will make every tear, every struggle, and every unanswered question completely worth it. And one day when you look back, you will understand that the removal was not rejection, it was protection, not loss, but preparation, and the life that is waiting for you is bigger, brighter, and more beautiful than anything you ever held on to before.